the Fountain 2020. Under 11A, public hearings, we have vacation of a section of Spruce Street and Sycamore Street right-of-ways. Item 13A, we have the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority funding resolution, and followed by public comment on non-agenda items and council and manager communications. Under 13, reports and recommendations, I'd like to add 13B, credited service for municipal employees retirement system. We received that earlier today. And then also 13C, expansion of Grand River patio hours for closure on South Jefferson Street. So any questions, comments, or adjustments to the agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion by member Metzger, support by member McNeil. And we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member McNeil.
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger.
Yeah.
Mayor Karen.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Next, we will move on to any candidates for public office joining us tonight that would like to speak. You have time to do so now. Please just state your name and address for the record. All right, Teresa, I see.
Hold on.
Eric, can you unmute Teresa?
She should be.
Looks like you're muted, Teresa, if you wanted to.
Okay, there I am. I think,
Now we can hear you.
okay, can you see me now?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Teresa Cheney Huggett, and I am going to be running for council and in Mike McNeil's place. And I am still seeking signatures and looking forward to working on the council for our citizens and our city.
Excellent. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate you announcing that this evening. And, thanks for reaching out, and we're excited to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one other hand up this evening. James, as soon as we get you unmuted, please go ahead.
James, in the bottom left is you're unmute.
There we go. Okay, perfect. You hear me
There,
now?
yeah.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, I just wanted to go on and announce that I would like to run for city council for Ward 2. I'm looking forward to it, and I have started getting signatures today, and hopefully we'll have them turned in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. All right. Anyone else like to speak tonight that's planning to run for public office? All right, hearing none, we will move on to public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the council may do so for a maximum of 5 minutes. Speak your name and address for the record, please. All right, are you seeing anything, Eric?
No, sir, not at this time.
All right, thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. Item 8A, we have the city council minutes from the work session on Monday, June 15th, 2020, and the regular session on Monday, June 15th, 2020. Item 8B, we have the city bill totaling $756,144.89. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Let's take a motion.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion by member Gates, support by member Traver. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger.
Yeah.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 10A under informational items, the event report for the Cruise to the Fountain 2020. Tom, would you like to brief us on that?
Actually, Director McDonald's going to do that.
Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, we had been anticipating this request for some time. The annual Cruise to the Fountain was originally scheduled for the 4th of July weekend. We've since received notice that they'd like to move it to Labor Day weekend. As far as the particulars go, they really haven't given any idea what the event's going to be, but they have requested the street closures and the parade route. So that document kind of summarizes what we're going to do.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Director McDonald at this time?
I guess my only question is what we do if there's a concern around public gathering, or if we have a changed environment related to COVID. Is it, by approving it tonight, are we doing anything that would prevent us from rescinding that approval if we have concerns about public health?
No, we would be able to react with the full force of whatever the governor changes it. For example, the fairground just requested another vent for a tractor pull. And we indicated that that was subject to any change the governor may have on gatherings, serving of alcohol, et cetera. So this is just kind of paving the way for them. They've also been notified the Michigan Avenue construction project may still be ongoing, and this may not be feasible anyway, at least in its proposed form.
All right, so the recommendation is to approve the event report and the required street closures as presented.
And may I suggest that the motion, exactly what Councilmember McNeil mentioned about if there's state directives that they would be followed.
Member,
Question about the fiscal effects. Is there anything that can be done to reduce the amount of money it's costing the city? 5361 for just a couple hour street closure seems high.
Scott, you're muted.
I started doing this with events when I took over. I've just averaged wages from each employee involved. For example, planning, there'll be a couple hours on the clerk's time, director of public services, the superintendent. Average those wages in, cost of setting up barricades, there's a time and expense. It's usually an 8-hour day to go around the whole barricade route and set up signs and turn the detour routes. Time on equipment, time on fire trucks and police. Majority of police and fire is on overtime. We can't run this on 2 events or 2 persons. So these are just kind of the behind the scene numbers. We're not making any money on them, certainly. In fact, we're not billing. This is more informational. So council kind of is aware of the hidden cost to these events.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Traver, I could also show you a spreadsheet sometime if you kind of want to do a little further dive into it, kind of educate you on where I'm getting these numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Thank you.
Yep.
It all adds up for sure. So I mean, what you listed off, I don't know what wouldn't be necessary. The only thing I could think of is like fire. Are you having fire on site during the event?
Well, we use them for traffic control. I don't have enough officers, particularly depending on how many intersections we close. Pylons on these events don't work because people are going to drive around them, so you almost have to have somebody physically at each checkpoint. We only have 12 officers on staff, and I've got to keep the road. So we do use fire personnel for that. They're not there for your 2 on-duty people will be available for medicals or fires. These are traffic control people.
Gotcha.
And the
Hey,
majority of them are paid on call.
One of the other ways that could cut costs, Scott, I don't know if you've figured that or not, is they want to go all the way down to McDonald's and turn around and cruise West Michigan. There has been years where they've gone only up to the fountain. And we closed the road at Sycamore. You take every intersection going down Michigan Avenue, that's a lot of people. So that is one of the ways that would cut the costs. And Scott, did you talk to him about that option?
I told him I was not going to close anything west of the circle due to the manpower constraints, and people just cut in anyway. So we will lead them down that way and put the roadblocks at West Drive, but traffic can open up and get in there. It's just a futile effort to try to close that whole thing off, and it'd probably double this price easily. I'd have to bring probably another 20 people in to close off each driveway and road.
Okay, so you've already looked at some cost savings there. Thanks, Scott.
Scott,
Yes.
I might have been multitasking. Apparently I can't do both, but did you mention that we could not charge them back for the use of our services?
Well, I suspect we can. We just have never done that as a municipality to my knowledge.
I just wonder if we should, at least some of it. We
Well-
shouldn't have to eat the whole cost of providing them service, I don't think.
There was a report that was given the council maybe 4 years ago, maybe a little longer, that showed the expense on every one of the events. And then there was discussions about, okay, what's a nonprofit, what is and what is not, do we charge for the Christmas parade, and it got into all that. I can't remember exactly how many years ago it was, but at that time, the council did not want to charge the nonprofits was the discussion. So there is absolutely a way, because if you don't grant them permission, they can't do this. They could just cruise like they are on currently on Friday nights, and we wouldn't close the road. So you have that right. We can resurrect that report if you want to look at it for events in 21. Again, most events this year, but it's a tough one. I believe Nick and Michael were on the council at that time, but
Well, I remember the conversation. I just don't remember the outcome. I mean, that was a while back, and I can't believe I wouldn't be up for collecting money, but not to the nonprofits, because I really don't think, they can probably afford it as well. But I don't know. There's
Yeah,
something I think we should at least share the costs or the burden with.
and since this is being put on by the fairgrounds, they are a nonprofit. So most all events that we have are nonprofits. So something you just give us direction in the future, what you'd like to know, and if you want to visit that again.
And I'll continue to add those numbers because I think they are critical to have at least available, whether we charge or not. Nobody rides for free.
Thank you. Yeah. And I like that we have that safety net down there. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I just wish we didn't have to eat the whole cost of it.
Definitely eye-opening, and I appreciate you including it in this report too, and hopefully the organizations that take advantage of our town and our downtown and the closures see that and appreciate it.
Did the previous report address whether this, like, what's normal? You know, do cities normally charge back for this type of service, or is this does it depend on the city?
I
I've
really
done a
can't
little
remember.
research and it's all over the board. I think Tom can probably go into more detail, but
No, I really can't go into more detail because I can't remember if we researched that as that project, but again, if that's something you'd like staff to spend some time on, you know, it just, you know, I know in our past conversations, it was always that these are good things for quality of life in Marshall. And, you know, be it the 4th of July chicken barbecue or the parade, the animal kids parade, but if you, whatever direction you want to give, you know, think about it and let us know, and we can develop that over the months to come and have something in the winter before these events start rolling in next spring.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not bad to examine that a little bit, but I do feel concerned that it would have a dampening effect on the, you know, many events that we have in town. I certainly don't think anyone's making $5,000 off the cruise to the fountain, so it's not like we can turn around and, you know, recoup that money. And you know, it would, if we start charging every event, then pretty soon I would be afraid we're going to have fewer events. But I think it's good that we're asking these questions and examining it. And I guess I did have one other question, Scott. So are these, how much of this is like cost over and above what costs would normally be incurred, and how much of it is just we're sort of allocating the money, or, you know, the time that this employee would already be spending essentially in the office, but we're allocating it toward this particular task? So I guess what I mean is how much of it is really overtime and how much of it is just that's how they're spending their time. Okay, do you have a sense of that?
I didn't break that down, but I'm able to. A lot of it's just employee time spent. A lot of it's on vehicles, particularly fire apparatus. They're expensive to run and they're expensive to maintain. So if I was to guess, I'd say 50-50.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if you wanted that, I could break those numbers down easy.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know that you have to do that for every event, but I think for me personally, that might be a more valuable number to just, I mean, it is good to know overall how much energy and, you know, money we're allocating toward an event, but I think knowing how much we're really out of pocket for an event is maybe more helpful to me.
That's easy to do. I'll include that in the next report.
Okay. Thank you.
And one of the things is, like with DPW, they're going to spend 2 days or a day and a half. That takes them away from all the things, you know, with between COVID and the storm cleanup. You know, we're doing the things now that we would have done end of April, 1st of May. So it takes away from other things. It may not be an additional cost, but it takes away from other projects that need to be done. But and that can be sorted out. And we'll put together a thorough document for you to read, to see sometime during the winter. I'm going to speculate.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I would seek a motion.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. And roll call vote, please.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 11A under public hearings for the vacation of a section of Spruce Street and Sycamore Street right-of-ways.
I'll run with this one. Delta One has bought what used to be all the Stolberg property between Kalamazoo over to Mulberry, the railroad tracks up to the where the homes are. There is a map as part of your package. Part of that is what is the Spruce Street right away and a part of a Sycamore Street right away. If you look at the drawing for all these years, for some reason, the right of ways never, if you drove it, you were really driving on private property. They never connected. And I did try to get from Mr. Stolberg over the years to give us that little rectangle there, and he never did. Since Delta One now has purchased all the property, they'd like to make a campus site. Right now they're working on what you see as 420 West Spruce, and they plan to expand into the other buildings and then the vacant land in the future. So this would clean up their site. There was also an agreement between Delta One and Lake Lumbertown, and that letter is also attached to your report. And so what you're doing tonight is actually holding the public hearing to vacate. And what happens is half of the right-of-way goes to the adjoining property owner. So pretty much everything would go to Delta One, except for alongside Lumbertown, which is 330 South Kalamazoo. Half of that right-of-way would go to Lumbertown, but they've worked out an agreement on how they want to ingress and egress there. So we've done our due diligence and notification. I should say Tricia has done it. So this is your public hearing and then approval because they intend to secure the site with fences that would go across Sycamore and Spruce.
Hey, Tom,
Yes, ma'am.
the parcel we're talking about, isn't that just that little gravelly piece?
It is a gravel from when you come in at Kalamazoo. That is gravel, and then it's gravel up to where South Sycamore pavement ends currently.
Right. And that's the property we are discussing, right?
Correct.
Does
And
anybody
also,
drive that?
some people do. I'm not sure how many. I never pass anybody when I'm on it, but
You're on it?
I try to drive the streets and cause the DPW headaches when I give a whole list of things. But one thing that Delta One is going to do on South Sycamore, if you look at the map, if you have it there, where the street will end, they are going to build a cul-de-sac pavement there. So that if you're coming down South Sycamore, when you reach their gate, just prior to that will be a cul-de-sac, and that'll be part of Delta One's project. That'll
So
allow
for the neighbors or for the turnarounds or whatever?
Yeah, majority of the reason we want it is for our snow plows.
Okay.
They're coming down and plowing so they can turn around and head back north rather than just having nowhere to turn around. And so that the city will probably use it more than the neighbors.
Okay.
And
Good idea.
Tom, the three parcels that are on sort of the gravel part of Sycamore Street,
Okay.
do we know, have we been in communication? I think two of them were Velocity Baseball.
That is a property that Delta One has bought also.
Okay. And same with this, the one just north of 420 West Spruce.
That is owned by Delta One.
Got it. Okay.
And their site plan has been approved by Planning Commission already.
Okay, great.
The only question I had, I know there was talk at some point of, you know, wanting to try to get a train station in Marshall, and I think it was right south of this location. Am I correct about that? And would this impact that at all? I mean, last I knew that was maybe dead in the water with Amtrak, but just would this impact those potential plans?
The actual site that was being looked at or is still being looked at is south of the tracks.
Oh, okay.
It'd be what was called Page Street. And then it's land that would be behind the old Fastenal building there is the site that they were looking for, the terminal. So this would not affect it. At one time, they did look at this site.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions before we open the public hearing? All right, hearing none, we will open the public hearing for the vacation of Spruce Street and Sycamore Street right-of-ways. Anyone wishing to speak, please either raise your hand or indicate so in the chat function.
No one so far, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, seeing and hearing no comments, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any additional comments or questions from council at this time? All right, so hearing none, the recommendation is the council adopt the resolution vacating Spruce Street from Kalamazoo Avenue to Sycamore Street in the south 132 feet of South Sycamore Street right away.
So move.
Support.
The motion by member Traver, support by member Metzger. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberg,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
Yes.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That removes us, or excuse me, that moves us to item 13A under reports and recommendations, the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority funding resolution.
The Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority Board has proposed to the Calhoun County Commissioners to place on the November ballot a funding proposal that would fund 911 by a phone surcharge. Right now, there's a small phone surcharge and then a call for service. We, depending on the year, we put in anywhere from $100,000 to $130,000 from your general fund budget. This would put the full burden on the phone surcharge. The proposal would be up to $3, but initially they think it will be lower. The board approved it, I believe, by a 5-to-1 vote. There was just one negative vote. So this is a resolution to the County Board of Commissioners that was similar to what was sent in 2012. And if you want to support this and adopt this resolution, they are meeting July 16th as a County Board of Commissioners to determine if they're going to put this on the ballot. The County Board is the one who can put it on the ballot. So it's up to you as a council if you want to go on record supporting this funding strategy. And then if you do, if any of the council members would, I believe there's still Zooming meetings at the county level. If someone would want to present this as an elected official to the county board that night.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
does this mean that if we propose this and it went through, would the city be able to retain their $130,000 payout every year?
Yes. Yes.
We wouldn't have to pay anything.
We would not have to pay anything. You have one budget that's just dispatch. That would not be needed to go towards dispatch.
I'd say have at it.
I like it too. I just had a question. I don't know if, so I think the range was 60 cents to $3. That's quite a range. How would that amount be determined?
They would look at their budget, and then if say $2.60 covered their budget needs, that's what they would tell the state, and then the state goes to Verizon or Sprint or AT&T to put on our bills. So right now you'll see on your if your phone number is from Calhoun County, you see a 60 cent, and then that would go up. I'm not sure when that would go into place, but I believe it's sometime in 21. But I'm not sure the exact date that it would be.
I think the last time this issue came up and it didn't pass, there was also a concern about the college or colleges, all the students they have there, and they're kind of transient students, yet they use our services. So how they were going to capture, it's a lot of people.
Although, but they don't pay property tax either, right?
No, but I think the cost goes up less you have. And so that takes a big chunk when we know that they use that service.
Well, it would be the same thing if you have a college student or somebody else that's on your plan. For instance, I've got one daughter still on my plan who doesn't live in Calhoun County. If I kept her on my plan, I would be paying for her. Sorry, Kimber, if I know she's not watching, but she's going to go off our plan if that's the case. But
for $3 a month.
Hey, what can I say? She's working. Boy, I'm in trouble here. I'm glad her brother's off. But I mean, it's just, it balances because looking at you all, if you have a child at Michigan State and you're, I guess like Eric, if there's a phone and it's on his plan, he'll be paying even though his son's at Michigan State. So it in the end, it somewhat balances out.
Tom, they have a bigger enrollment than we have 3 times 3, 4 cities.
Yeah. Well, but again, anybody, who's on a plan here in Calhoun County is going to pay, so there's pros, cons, but that's the only way they can really attribute the cost. I mean, come up with it.
I'm drawn to the language in the proposal implement a fair, equitable, and stable funding solution. Is there it kind of implies the current process is not fair, equitable, and stable. Is that an accurate portrayal? Is there concerns about the current funding model?
I know this wasn't necessarily brought by us. It was more the cities. I think Battle Creek area that it would be. It's affecting their budget a lot. The COVID and everything. So I can't say it's more fair and equitable. It's just something that the board has come up with. So if you had a large group of people leaving the community, yes, then it would be imbalanced. But otherwise, the county population has really stayed pretty constant. If you had a big drop in tax base. A lot of cities might not be able to afford this in their budgets.
Does this apply to businesses as well, or only individual devices?
Scott?
I haven't seen it yet, but I suspect it's to all phones within the county.
I know that was a
An
question.
I
organization,
thought that was it too, yes.
yeah, I'm thinking about a large organization that has 100, what's our largest, 1,200 employees, and they all have desk phones. Are they going to get 1,200 times 3 charge?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I would highly doubt it. I suspect it all come back to the parent number, but the county would be able to answer that.
So really, yes, the phone number, that makes sense. Not a device charge then, more of a phone number based.
You may have 1,200 extensions, but maybe only 200 numbers, or because I know not all our phones have individual lines, but I think it's per phone number.
And even there, if a company has a block of numbers, they're treated differently by the billing entity.
But I think that's an important piece of information about how it's determined, whether it's an account level or a phone number level, because I think even, saying $3 isn't terribly meaningful for a household, but if you've got 5 phone numbers in a household, that's $15 a month potentially. I think that the challenge for me is that we're saying that we're going to approve passing on incremental costs without necessarily finding a way to offset the fact that we're not going to pay out from the city general fund. It just seems like then somehow we're double dipping a little bit here. We're charging now through taxes to fund the service. We're going to continue to charge the same rate, and we're going to have them individuals incur additional costs per line. So I appreciate the challenge that they're in, trying to come up with a new way of doing a consolidated dispatch billing for budgeting, but I have trouble getting behind this one.
Well, that's why, again, I brought it your way a month or so ago. I had sent an email out that Brent Williams had sent out, and Brent, having heard nothing back on this, Brent went ahead and supported it as our representative. But again, this doesn't force you to do this resolution, but it's helpful if you want this to occur.
Well, I like it from a standpoint of transparency that, that you see a charge on your bill for 911 service, that money is going to 911 service. And it sort of takes the city out as a middleman there. So I do like that about it.
I guess I just have a comment when Scott mentioned about fair and equitable. Many of our users in every community who use the services 911 who don't pay for it. For instance, the schools, the hospital, any governmental building, all the nonprofits currently are not paying for service that some of those institutions use very heavily. So maybe that's more where the fair and equitable side would be. But again, it's up to you on how you want. I can tell you last time is the council did support it, but the city of Battle Creek did not. And now they're the ones that are talking more about supporting this. So again, it's your call.
So every municipality would have to pass it for this to go through. Is that true?
Majority vote of the county residents.
Okay.
And just so I've got the information right, I think the language in here says an all device surcharge from 60 cents per month up to a maximum of $3 per month. My understanding originally was it was replacing the current 60 cent per phone line charge with a minimum of $2.25 per month and a maximum of $3. So just want to be careful that what we're agreeing to is not a range of 60 cents to $3. It sounds like it's a minimum of $2.25.
Right, that you are correct.
When you say all devices, are we talking like your iPad, your computer, what are we talking about?
If they have a phone number associated with them that's in this area, then yes. So some iPads have cellular connections that have built
Yeah, like mine.
dedicated phone number associated with them. Then yes, you would have an additional charge on your account for that. And then your cell phone and any other cell phones that are in your plan through your billing here in Marshall. And then if you've got any other devices like MiFi devices that broadcast a Wi-Fi device using a cellular service, all of those would be incurring the additional charges. So I think it's feasible that a household could pay. I mean, if you've got, kids that have got a couple of, a cell phone, you've got parents that have each got a cell phone and maybe have an iPad with a cellular service, we could be asking households to pay, it's not out of the realm of possibility, over $20 a month.
Exactly. That's a lot. That would be our household.
All right, so as Tom said, we do not need to vote on this if there's no motion. We can move forward, but any additional comments or questions at this time?
I guess my only comment would be is more of a question. Do we want to table this and come back to it, or do we want to just make?
I don't think we have time. I think they're going to vote on it over isn't Brent got to take something back?
I thought they were going to take it to the November ballot.
I think that's what they're voting on, isn't it?
Yes. On July 16th, the county board, next week, Thursday, will be voting if they want to put it on the ballot.
Right.
And then the voters have the ultimate say. So it's just getting it first on the ballot.
So what he's saying, Scott, is that it would be nice if they had our support, Marshall's support behind the request to put it on the ballot.
Or even I would say, what our total roll call was. If it's 4-3, however many people we have, I think it'd be good for them to know how many of us are in support and how many are not, rather than just saying we're all in or we're all out.
If you notice you notice on your resolution, it is written with ayes and nays, abstained and absent. So they will see your vote.
That's all right.
And Tricia can put it by name if you want, or she can put the number. So since
Well, and your point, Tom, about our nonprofit organizations and even the city doesn't contribute to this currently. That is a very
Well, the city contributes a lot to this.
well,
right now. Oh yeah.
Tax dollars.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the attached resolution to support the placement of a telephone surcharge-based funding mechanism for the CCCDA on the November 2020 countywide ballot.
Support.
We have a motion by member Traver, and was it support by member McNeil? or Gates? Gates, support by member Gates. And do a roll call vote, please.
Member Wolfersberger,
I was first. Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member McNeil,
No.
Member Metzger,
And no.
Member Traver,
Yes.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Motion carries 5 yes and 2 no.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 13B, the credited service for the municipal employees retirement system.
Yes, thank you for adding this. This came in somewhat after we had got the agenda out, and we have an employee who would like to buy service time. He is available if you want to ask any specific questions. MERS comes up with an actuarial calculation of how much he would need to pay in. If you look at the report from MERS, you can see the amount that he would have to pay to allow him to retire a little bit early. We have done this in the past. Probably the last time, Tricia, 2014, 13, 15, no, 4 or 5. 2005, thank you. And so it's been done in the past. The employees that who took it in the past was at the early part of their career. Captain Constantine is at the end of his career, so the numbers have less risk in them. Captain Constantine knows what what the effect is, and if you approve this tonight, then he will sign this also, and then start the roughly 2-month process to go into retirement when he's looking for retirement at the end of September or the first part of October. So, but there is on page 2 of the MERS application, you can see the governing body resolution. And so we would need you to adopt that tonight if you so desire. And if there's any questions for Ed, or if Ed, you want to say anything at this time, I'll leave it up to the mayor how he wants to handle. If you want a motion first, and then if there's any questions for Ed, however you'd like to do it, Mayor.
The person we're talking about is who?
Ed Costine from Fire Department, Captain Costine.
The new gentleman.
No.
Okay.
Ed's been with us. We talked this morning. Ed, why don't you unmute, or I'm not sure. Eric, you have him unmuted, or is that his phone? Okay, Ed, you're unmuted. So, Ed, go ahead and answer Nick's question about your length of service with the city.
I've been full-time with the city for 24 years tomorrow, actually.
Congratulations.
And I was paid on call for a year before that. So I've worked for the city for 25 years.
Okay, thank you. All right. I do have a question for Ed or Tom or whoever. Tom?
Yes.
In the packet, it said that there was no cost to the city for this.
There's no initial cost, and being so late in, at the end of the career, there's always risk in any pension plan. If there is any risk, there's probably I don't know if I can say a negative, less chance of a effect on us. And you can see that on that chart and in my report, that if Ed was to wait, his pension would be higher. So we would see a savings by Ed paying this out, and then his pension would be lower every year. So technically there's a savings, but any actuarial, there's always a risk. There's never a guarantee that it's a positive or negative. So I cannot.
What would be a negative risk?
Theoretically, if I live to be 150, then it would be a break-even point.
Because an actuarial will use the typical age of a male, typical male firefighter. They take that into account. And so we hope everybody long life and Ed too, but it's just impossible to come up with all the variables. The other thing is we'll be hiring somebody in to fill Ed's position in a lower pay grade. Now, yeah, it would be a lower pay grade. There would be probably a younger person. I can't say that for sure who it's going to be, but so there's way too many variables to come up with the exact positive or negative.
So when you say that, if he puts that money into the account, that it increases the money at retirement by $600 and some dollars?
No, he actually loses. He will get $600 less in annual benefits by leaving early.
But by buying years of service, he would get that money back.
His annual benefit will be lower if he leaves this year versus next year, and he will be contributing that amount into MERS, into our account. So he could wait a year and draw more retirement.
Okay.
But he feels at this time, this is the right time for him. And he's willing to have less retirement and contribute this in a lump sum to MERS.
It sounds like we've done this before. I'm just wondering if we should be at all concerned about this setting a precedent of any kind, or are we not concerned about that?
Well, like I said, it's been 15 years for the last group. There's two then, and the one prior to that was in 1992, roughly. Director Roger Graves did this back then. So in my 28 years, Ed will be the fourth one that I know about.
Okay.
What's the benefit for him to do that? That he can retire early?
Ed, I'm going to leave this up to you. I'm not going to talk for you. Sorry.
I just want to understand it in my head. So what is the benefit for you wanting to do this and not just wait a year?
Time. It's 100%. I'm just buying time. I have some personal reasons where now is a pretty good time for me to get out.
Okay. And that's the only thing you just want to get out. It's not monetarily going to benefit you a lot more.
No, it's actually financially, it's $600 a year a detriment to me. Plus, I'm buying I'm buying time is what I'm buying, and I'm losing money to buy time.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Oops, sorry. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom, if I'm not mistaken, this is pretty standard practice with state, with municipal employees. It's not out of the ordinary for this to be done.
Yeah. I can't say for other municipalities, but like I said, I know my 28 years, and it'll be the fourth person who has done this. The two that were back about 15 years ago, they were more at the beginning of their career. So the actuary is probably a lot more risk when they were younger, newer employees, not knowing, inflation, wages, and everything. This is being near the end of Ed's career, so the risk should be smaller, just because they're not guesstimating out 20 years like these other guys.
I make the motion to approve by resolution the purchase of 9 months of generic service by Captain Ed Costing.
Support.
Support.
We have a motion by member Traver, support by member Wolfersberger. Do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates,
Yes.
member McNeil,
Yes.
member Metzger,
Yes.
member Traver,
Yes.
member Underhill,
Yes.
member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed, for joining us tonight and answering those questions. We appreciate it and all your service to the city.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy retirement, Ed.
Next, we have 13C that we added to the agenda this evening, the expansion of Grand River patio hours and closure on South Jefferson.
Yes, I received an email from the owner. If you remember at your last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, you approved the closing of Jefferson Street from Michigan to the alley alongside Grand River on Friday nights and Saturday nights from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night. The owner has come back and asked if that could be left closed 24/7 until Labor Day. We weren't we as staff are uncomfortable for a couple of reasons. One is not sure when school will start, and Jefferson Street is the bus route because of the traffic signal there. So there probably will be several weeks where school buses wouldn't be able to go through. Also, with the construction happening on Eagle and Jefferson and the downtown paving and deliveries to businesses during the day, staff doesn't feel this is appropriate to do it 24/7. I'd like to go back to the owner and suggest starting on Friday at 4 o'clock and going to Sunday night at 10 o'clock. If you were by there or down there during the closure, they've got tables, they've got fence, they've got a lot of stuff to move out every night. This would allow them to have it a little bit longer and then also not have to move it on Friday nights. Then they could have it on Sunday. So I guess that's what I'd like to suggest. But I have a concern about doing it 24/7. I think that is not good for the downtown and the traffic, especially with all the construction going on.
I tend to agree with that, Tom. Especially like you said, with the construction projects on Eagle, we do have the farmers market right there on Green Street that's happening in the morning. And with both of those kind of main entryways blocked off, I'm concerned with that. I'd be more in favor of, letting them keep it open later. If that's the thing, I'm just trying not to move things back and forth. But I think with all the road construction and projects going on already, especially Michigan Avenue happening later in the summer, it would be difficult to have that much.
Well, and I don't tend to like to make slippery slope arguments, but I would have a concern with, what restaurant asks us to close off roads next. it just seems like this could become a mess real quick. And
I also think that there's a number of other restaurants and businesses on that block of Michigan Avenue on the south side. And I think that the trucks they use for delivery come in through Eagle and drive straight through, do their drop off and then exit onto Jefferson. Seems like they'd be caught then and have to use like the library area parking lot to try to do a turn through there if they're going to make deliveries while Jefferson is closed. I think it's great that we found some ways, and MEDA has been working with downtown businesses to try to get creative through the changes we've had to make for the pandemic, but this one seems a stretch too far, I think.
I would agree.
I would agree, unless it were to benefit any restaurant, like we're closing down an entire street with picnic tables and then allowing takeout from other restaurants to use the space. But this is really only benefiting one business, and they're blessed with the real estate and the location of their business to do that. I'd have a hard time as well agreeing with a 24/7 for them for this.
Is there acceptance for the weekend closure from 4 Friday afternoon till Sunday night?
Well, you just encompassed one of the concerns was the farmer's market, but it doesn't bother me because I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I would still not support all weekend long closure of Jefferson. And it's we've got a lot of construction happening downtown, and I know that there are some deliveries with large trucks that happen over the course of the weekend, and I think they're going to get caught between Eagle and Jefferson. It's going to make a tricky situation for them trying to navigate that parking lot to do a turnaround back onto Green Street.
how long does the Eagle construction go?
It's planned to go to the end of July. It's going really well. I could give you an update later on the construction, but Eagle is potentially going to be, it'll be done probably mid-July, and then they'll move over to Jefferson once they have some of the pavements back in. So
Tom, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I would favor your all weekend approach. I think it is. I think it makes sense that there's some concerns with the school being there during the week, and I recognize it may cause some traffic challenges on the weekend, but I do think that during this time, it's good to make whatever concessions we can to downtown businesses, and so I would favor allowing them to use it over the weekend.
Tom, has there been anything from MEDA too? I thought I saw something about using alleyways for
there
restaurants.
is a discussion of looking at alleys. The social district that the state's approved really have to be adjacent properties. There is some talk about the alley being closed, but nothing has been finalized. I asked Amy to meet with her at MEDA to discuss this, and I'll probably do that next couple of days. But they're looking at the block between Eagle and Jefferson, north and south, or not sure if it'll be both. So it's still being talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where that conversation goes. I'm in support of whatever will help the businesses, but with Michael's feedback about the concern of trucks, there's trucks that go up and down our back alley all day long on that main block between Eagle and Jefferson. So it's a bigger concern for me about the shutting down the alleys than it is from Michigan to the alley on Jefferson. But I mean, that's not our conversation. That's still something MEDA's working on, I guess, but
Right.
truckers would have to find something, a new way to deliver to the back of all these businesses.
Yeah,
So
I guess I would still have some concerns about shutting it down for the weekend time, just simply because I don't know, you know, if we would, how do we accommodate other requests, you know, from other, you know, you've got Stagecoach and Schuler's on Eagle, you know, we're going to shut down Eagle as 12, you know, so they can have outdoor seating areas.
I would figure once the pavement's back down to get some sort of similar request from one or the other. Right now, it's not made for it, but I would think someone would, just to have, you know, a pick up more on the coach because of their limited seating. But again, that's why I'm asking before I just went to them and said yes or no. And so I'm still getting some mixed. So I guess I need some direction, some consensus on where the 7 of you want to be.
I am an empathetic no.
I would be no as well. I would be all about, you know, if they wanted to extend the hours to make it easier, so later than 10 o'clock, if that helps at all. But I'd rather not see that closed, especially for the farmers market.
I guess.
I'm a no currently also.
Okay. All right. I think I got consensus direction. So I will tell them that we really don't want to change the times, except for they want to extend a little later into Friday night or Saturday. Does that meet everybody's needs?
And you might want to explain our concerns of why that is not feasible.
Yeah, I will not do this by email. I'll call John.
And I think we need to have those discussions with Maida. I know that's been kind of floating around, but we need to probably get moving on something if we're gonna.
Yeah.
Summer's about over, so you won't have to worry about it again.
Right.
Well, also, you know, I definitely, with the DDA, I think it's a group that we'll be talking here about the other projects or the other programs. So, okay, that gives me enough direction. So thank you.
All right, that will move us down to item 15 on the agenda, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak to the council may do so. They need to state their address and name for the record. You will have 5 minutes to speak. Eric will give 1 minute and 30-second heads up before your time is up, and then your microphone will be muted. I would like to start the public comment with a letter that I received from Mary Jo Byrne of 729 East Prospect Street. It says July 2nd, 2020. Dear Mayor Karen and Marshall City Council, I am writing you this letter to ask, as a respected and elected official of our wonderful city, to strongly encourage our citizens to wear masks when out in public. I am doing this not only out of medical concerns for our community, particularly our most vulnerable, both physically and economically, but also for the financial health of our community. We cannot afford another shutdown of any of our businesses. A mask is a simple, easy, and caring way to protect each other and our way of life in our beautiful Marshall. Sincerely, Mary Jo Byrne.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Barry Wayne Adams will be up, should be unmuted now.
Thank you. Hello, Barry. Barry, we can't hear you.
Hello.
There you go.
Please go ahead, Barry.
Hello. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
We can hear you, Barry.
Can you hear me at all? Okay. I'll go ahead. Okay, I was very disappointed to see in the newspaper after we were sent to our houses for a number of months that there was a surreptitious decision to bring the garbage situation back to what you were trying to do it a couple months ago. And it's kind of disappointing because we seem to not smell the direction of the wind from the wishes of the citizenry, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I thought. The will of the people is the predominant moving force in this government. Now you're pulling this stuff of trying to make one garbage server again, and it's something that is beyond your authority to do. You're violating both the Constitution and federal law. You're violating the prohibition against passing any law that impairs the obligation of contracts, and you're violating 18 USC 1951, which obstruct, it's against the federal law to obstruct commerce. And one of the methods articulated in that statute is trying to obstruct commerce under color of official right. So if this does go along and starts to proceed, there will definitely have to be a legal challenge against it. So I'm giving you direct notice right now. If you do proceed with this, it will be a lawsuit over in the federal court. You effectively try to create a monopoly when you try to make one garbage server for the whole city, and it's disappointing to see that you guys don't see that you're moving towards corporate fascism, which whose underlying motive is government micromanagement of individual lives from birth to death. So at some point, you guys got to realize there's a constitution in play. There is the efforts that are being done unconstitutionally to try to circumvent the protections of the Constitution, particularly by the use of the executive orders. Again, Whitmer is trying to use military authority on civilians, unconstitutional, impermissible, and as it seems to have been progressing, Whitmer is not making too much headway with the Michigan Supreme Court. And when you see the decisions of the Wisconsin Supreme Court in their dealing with executive orders, those similarly fall short. So again, you each have taken an oath of office to support and uphold the Constitution. Why aren't you doing that? Passing this stuff, it's corporate fascism, and we as Americans are bound to try to stop it. And when you do things like that, you are no longer officials, but state actors operating under the color of law, and you don't have any official immunity. So think twice, take a deep breath, let us have our rights to life, liberty, and property, including the way we want to dispose of our property, and let the Constitution prevail. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barry, for your comments. Next up, it looks like we have Ms. Kathy Miller.
Kathy, I think you muted.
Unmute. You got me?
Now we gotcha.
Okay. Thanks for one thing, this wasn't on the agenda, but thanks for talking about the Grand River request the way you did. My concern regarding what's happening in Marshall right now with our restaurants and our bars, and when I saw that Grand River had Jefferson Street, I thought about, okay, well, what about Mike's Place? What about Broadway? What about Copper? What about Stagecoach? What about Schuler's? And I know that MEDA is working on something. I've contacted a couple people today But my biggest concern is we're moving like snails, and these businesses need to survive. I'm not comfortable going in a restaurant, but I am comfortable sitting outside, and so are a lot of people I know. And I don't know what you as a council can do to make things happen for these businesses. I would hate to lose any one of them. I don't know. I know we got work coming on Michigan Avenue, but I also know that it's great that Grand River's got that. I'm glad it's pretty and everything, but we've got to do the other businesses in town. And I think we're setting a precedent in some ways. Whether you agree with me or not, I feel that way because there are other restaurants I would like to go to. The same thing with Oyo Amigo, you know, and the other ones down at that end, and the pizza place. So I'm hoping that you really look into this and work with MEDA. I know they don't have a director, and I know Jane's gone. I'm not sure who's running the boat. Karen's still there, I think as president, but I don't think we can let them go till midsummer and say, okay, now we can do this for you guys, because this is the time when people are coming into town now until the end of September, and I want to see all those restaurants and bars stay in business. So that's just my thoughts on it, and I know they're going through a difficult time with everything, and I want to see every business survive downtown. So thank you for listening to me, and have a good night.
Thank you for your comments, Kathy. We appreciate you joining us this evening. Any other comments tonight on non-agenda items?
One more, Teresa would like to talk again.
Okay, thank you. Teresa, please go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm available now. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just want to confirm that Jam for the Cure is still planning on the event on August 8th at Stewart's Landing. We are planning to take precautions. I am not going to be the policeman, but there is plenty of room for social distancing. I've ordered masks with the Jam for the Cure logo for people to purchase if they wish to. We're sterilizing the microphones in between bands. So we are planning on a safe, wonderful fundraising event. So I just wanted to let you all know that it is still in the works, it's still being planned, and we are planning on a safe, wonderful event.
All right, thank you, Teresa. All right, any other public comment this evening? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to council and manager communications. Member Wolfersberger.
I don't have anything this week. Thank you.
Member Traver.
Yeah, a couple things. I think everybody knows now, but the Blues Festival, which was originally scheduled for June, was rescheduled for August and has now been canceled. So no Blues Fest for 2020. And I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to Kathy Campbell. She presented to us last year sometime about her work with another individual that's restored fire hydrants throughout Marshall and Albion. She's accounted for 250 fire hydrants in Marshall alone, repainting those. The person that used to help her can no longer help her due to some back issues. So she's a committee of one. She just recently did 3 of the fire hydrants in our subdivision that Mr. Gates and I get to enjoy, and they're beautiful. So she said that she's looking for help, and she's willing to train anybody how to wire brush, scrape, brush, wash, rinse, and paint, the whole process. So I guess I would just say if there is anybody that would be interested in learning how to do this and training with her, to they can contact me and I'll get you in touch with her. But it's really great what she does, and she doesn't charge anything. I tried to give her a donation, she wouldn't take it. So it's nice what she does, looks good. So if there's anybody out there who would like to help her, that'd be great.
It'd be nice if the chamber could put that on their website too, that they're looking for help. If anybody's working with data or chamber, somebody.
Yeah, I'll let Maida know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Traver. Member Underhill?
Oh, one more thing about Maida. I haven't seen an update from them in a long while.
Yeah, I'm on the Maida board. I trying to remember the last meeting we had. I'm wondering if I missed it. Tom, when was the last Maida meeting?
I can't remember the date. Those mainly had come from Scott, but I'll check with Matt Davis about the new chair, about an update to the council.
I think the leadership committee's been meeting and they've been talking about these alley things. So I've gotten a couple updates here and there, but as a committee, there hasn't been a meeting in a couple months, I believe.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Member Underhill?
Is this Michelle typing all this out right now?
Yes, it is.
Who's doing all the CC? It is okay. Thank you, Michelle, for doing this. It's pretty impressive watching you type when everyone's speaking. So thank you for doing it tonight. That's it.
Thank you. Member McNeil?
No airport board this week. We moved it to next week for the holidays, so we'll have an update after the next council meeting. And then just in general, I've had a couple of folks stop me and ask or shoot me emails wanting to know if the council is going to take any specific positions on a couple of topics. One is sort of wearing masks in public. They've commented that other municipalities have come through and said something more specific about their expectation around complying with orders around wearing masks in public, particularly at restaurants or businesses. So just know that that's out there. And additionally, there are some questions around, continue to be some questions around, hey, how is the police force trained? How do they talk about de-escalation? So there are, it's just still very present in our community. And I empathize with comments that we need to maybe be clearer or over communicate on these topics too. And I don't know if there's any specific action we would consider taking or communication around particularly complying with orders around wearing masks in public. But I think it's a challenge for everybody involved, for the individuals who are going into the store, for the store owners, for the other people who want to go in, maybe don't feel comfortable if they see people in there that are not wearing masks. So I just am mindful that this is a couple of sources of anxiety in our community, and maybe we could help them with some more communication.
Maybe at the next council, Scott could do a presentation on the COVID and what the police and fire department have been doing.
All right, thank you, Member McNeil. Member Gates?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Metzger?
Nothing. I have to go get my grandson 2 minutes ago. So, but I would have loved to have had an update, Tom, on East Drive. I just got to go.
Tom, you're muted.
I'm sorry, on update on
East Drive. Anything like with the land bank?
Oh, okay. I don't have, I got an email from Krista, and Eric and I are both trying to find out, and also Scott and Eric are going to be reviewing proposals, but we're trying to find more out. So I'll try getting you some information by the end of the week or once Eric talks to Krista. But right now they've done nothing through COVID at all. Nothing at all.
Okay. All right.
I can do it real quick. Sorry to interject, but yes, she did get back to me. They just talked about it. There will be more information coming at the end of the month to see what direction they want to go in still. But they are on furlough too, so she said to bear with them.
Okay.
All right, Manager Turkowitz, any further comments?
Eric, is Marguerite on the call?
Yeah, yes, she is. Just give me a second.
Give you an update on the water main project. Marguerite will do that. And still heading with MDOT for 1st of August. Not sure if they'll start Sunday night or Monday, but there was some of their engineers in the downtown today looking at the project. So Marguerite, could you give an update on Eagle Jefferson and if you've heard anything more on Michigan Avenue?
Good evening. Yes, certainly. Eagle and Jefferson is progressing nicely. The section of North Eagle is installed and tested, and services are being installed today. Also, the water main is in on the section on South Eagle between Michigan and Green, and it is currently going through back-T testing, and then we'll do pressure testing. And they have started removing the road for installation on Eagle between Hanover and Green. In regards to Michigan Ave, I have not heard anything different than the August 2nd start date that has been communicated since May.
Marguerite, do you want to, the questions asked earlier a little bit, when we thought might see completion on Eagle? You had told me this morning or this afternoon what the plan was between Eagle and Jefferson.
All right. Yeah. So I expect that water main on Eagle will be complete by the end of next week. So by the 17th, and I would expect paving to be complete the following week. The contractor is going to mobilize for milling and paving on Eagle, and then move to Jefferson to do water main and paving there. So we won't have both roads tore up in theory at the same time. One will be paved, and then they will come back and pave Jefferson.
Marguerite, have we, I realize, things have been, tentative with the Michigan Avenue project, but have we made any effort to communicate the timeline for downtown with the local businesses?
I believe so. I think it was discussed at one of the DDA meetings and or LDFA. As far as like a specific communication to downtown businesses, no, like a mailer or a letter or anything like that, no.
We would want to confirm with MDOT that is truly the date before. MEDA typically has made those announcements or sent those out. They've got the mailing list. So we can check with MDOT if they're still shooting for it, but we're still a month out here. I would say we'd be better off in maybe about 2 weeks to get something out to them and what the procedure will be at night and what will happen during the day. So we'll get something to them.
Thank you.
And Marguerite, while you're still with us here for a moment, could you just give a quick update on the progress that's being made at the skate park? I know there's been a lot of news and emails and things about that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I was actually hoping that one of the volunteers would speak tonight, but he may not have been able to join. The skate park was discussed at the last Parks Rec and Cemetery meeting earlier, I want to say 2 weeks ago-ish. The concern at the time that Phil Smith brought up, DPW superintendent, was the safety of the equipment and the need to temporarily shut down the park because it was unsafe. The ramps specifically had some missing components, ledges, some structural issues, leaning walls, etc. At that time, we got feedback, and there was some social media discussions regarding, closure of the park, and we were able to make contact with a group of users, skaters that use the park. And from that, we scheduled an initial discussion with them to look at all of the structures and review what needs to be done. And prior to that meeting even starting, a GoFundMe account was started and some money raised. Since then, our meeting with them was last week, Monday. Over the holiday weekend, the volunteers got together and removed materials that were damaged or inoperable and purchased new materials using the money. Actually, they haven't used any of the GoFundMe money yet. They've just gotten donations from different users of the park, and they have started repairs. I met with them today to look at the progress and discuss the repairs that are being made, and I was pleased with their progress, and I think they're doing a good job, and everyone seems to be on board with what needs to happen. So the park remains open. And there are some ramps that were fine as is, some ramps that have been made inoperable or unusable, I should say. And we are taking the 2 ramps that were dangerous, and they are repairing them and getting them into working order. There will be a section of ramps that remain unusable for the foreseeable future until the group figures out how they need to be situated so that they're more usable. There's one ramp that is not really usable, even if it was in good condition, just because of the geometry and shape and what have you. So overall, it's been a good experience. We did have an article in the Enquirer about it. The Enquirer did show up to our initial meeting with the group of skaters, and that was a positive article. And we're just working through the steps to make it usable and safe.
All right, thank you, Marguerite, for that update. Tom, did you have anything else this evening? Okay, Clerk Nelson.
I do just want to say I have packets available for anybody that's interested in the city council seat, and those can be filed until July 24th. I'm continuing to process absentee ballots, a lot of absentee ballots. If anybody wants to submit an application, they can drop it at City Hall or email me. Other than that, business as usual.
Hey, Tricia, I did have someone ask me, the absentee ballot applications, do those have to be dropped in the mail? Can they be dropped in the Dropbox?
Dropbox is great.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Tricia, what is the deadline for those to be turned in? The
Absentee ballot applications can be turned in up until the day before or even the day of.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Plenty of time yet.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. That being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and good to see all of you, and we will do this again in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much. Call this meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.